This is what I used to look like when I used to go to the gym every day and do cardio. I used to do about 30 minutes a day on, I think it was the Stairmaster. I was trying to eat less too. But it's so hard because the food is so addictive, and I'm sure so many of you can relate. So in this video, I want to go over to you how you can lose weight without spamming out cardio. And as you can see, I've had really good results. I took this photo literally the other day. As you can see, I've got some definition in my abs now. I don't go to the gym. I haven't written anything, but I don't go to the gym. I don't do cardio. All I do is focus on my health and what I'm putting into my body. This is my natural amount of muscle. When I feed my body the right foods, this is the muscle I have. Now, this is a trap a lot of people get caught in, which is tracking calories. Now, this right here is Cal.ai. I've never used this one. I used to use something called, there's a MyFitnessPal one. And I used to track my calories religiously on there every day. And it would get, I'd be like 2 months into trying to do a cut, doing like 1.5k calories a day. And I would still be looking like this. And on top of this, right, I would be bloated in my stomach. Me personally, I have issues with IBS. So when I'm not careful about my foods, it's going to cause me to bloat. My face was bloated. I've got an image down here. A very bloated face. And as you can see, this I took the other day in my face. I start to de-bloat. And overall, we've become a lot more attractive, especially health-wise. So this is kind of a standard, obviously not all of these, but this is kind of a standard meal for like gym goers. People go to the gym, you know, you're pre-making these meals, putting them in the fridge ready for the next day. So we got chicken, some greens, broccoli. Broccoli is actually man-made. It's technically not real. It doesn't actually exist in nature. I'm stuttering. It's made from a brain. It's made from a strain of a cauliflower. So it's man-made, very genetically modified. And also rice. So all of these foods, let's take rice for example. It's a carbohydrate. Most of this, in fact, all of the stuff on this plate is incredibly hard to digest for your body. So your body's working overtime to help break this down. Your body can't use this rice. We are carnivores, right? As people, we're carnivores. It's been proven our stomach is, I believe, a 1.4 in pH, which is the same of predators, people at the top, not people, animals at the top of the food chain. In fact, our stomachs are very similar to that of vultures and scavenger animals. So we need to be eating high bacteria, not this. Now, bacteria is a separate point. I'm going a bit all over the place here, but our bodies run off fat. We use fat as energy. We don't use carbohydrates as energy. In fact, carbohydrates just take our energy because they use so much energy to actually break down. And even after that, we can't use them properly. And when we can't use something properly, it creates a waste product. And waste products always lead to toxins. Waste products create toxins. And that's when you're not going to be running efficiently. You're going to be always tired because your body's constantly stressed, dealing with toxins in your organs and your digestive system. And on a separate topic, this is also where acne comes from, which is toxins trying to leave your body. So first off, you need to cut out all of these, right? I know not all of this is just a generic image, right? But vegetables especially, we can't use them. And all vegetables contain fiber. Let me write that out. And like I said, we're carnivores. We're not made to eat fiber. We don't need fiber. I've been going about a year without having any fiber because we don't need it to digest. If anything, it messes up our digestion. Because we have, I should have got a picture up, but donkeys, horses, they all have a particular teeth where they can grind up the vegetables, the leaves that they're eating and be able to digest them. As humans, we don't have that. We can't break down fiber, so when we eat it, our body's trying to get rid of it, which is why people say if you need to increase your bowel movement, you have fiber, but all this is doing is stressing out your body because you eat it, your body can't use it, so it's just trying to get rid of it. So all you're doing is creating toxins and creating stress on your organs and your digestive system. Does that make sense? Which is why we shouldn't be eating vegetables. In fact, like I said, all of the food on this plate isn't ideal, especially with the cooked chicken as well. So I personally sear my foods. You wouldn't really want to do this with chicken, obviously, sear it, but if you were to have it fully raw from a good source, then it would be completely fine. When you're cooking something completely, you're creating a lot of carcinogens. This also creates a waste product, which also leads to toxins, causing more stress on your body, which is going to make it hard for it to run efficiently, and why you're struggling to lose weight. Cardio isn't going to help you necessarily. I get it if you enjoy cardio, if you enjoy running. Most of the time you don't. But again, at the end of the day, when you're running unnecessarily, all you're doing is stressing out your body. Now, a good example of this is the Maasai tribe. A lot of you probably know them. I believe Joe Frazier did a YouTube video on them, right? And they're quite tall, they're all fit. A funny thing about this, right, is the average American, known as very lazy, like a couch potato, their laziness, right? The Maasai tribe only exercise and run around and move 1.6 times the amount of an average lazy American. So if you're not an average lazy American, you probably move around the same much, and you don't do much exercise. You probably move around the same amount as the Maasai tribe. So we know that becoming fit and healthy isn't down to exercise, right? And I mean, you can take a guess. What do you think these guys eat? Their diet mostly consists of, as probably many of you know, of raw milk. They drink raw blood, and it's meat. Raw milk, raw blood, and meat. That's what their diet consists of. They're very healthy individuals, as you can see. They're very attractive individuals. You don't see any fat ones. And they're all developed correctly. So, I don't have to tell you this food is bad, right? But another good example. Let's say you're trying to cut, you're trying to lose weight, you're doing cardio every day, and you're on a 1.5k calories, right? This is what I used to do. I said I was going to eat 1.5k calories every day, and I'd follow this religiously. But I barely saw any results, and I felt terrible, low energy, because the calories don't matter. Calories do not matter. It's the quality of the food and the food you're eating. If you was to eat 1.5k calories, but it's this stuff, you may as well be eating 4k calories, because they're both going to make you fat. Your body can't use any of it. Does that make sense? None of this can be used efficiently. Majority of it creates a waste product, which creates a toxin. Now, probably what most of you have been waiting for, how are we going to actually eat properly? You need to be eating real foods. Meat, mostly raw, aim for 90% raw. Personally, like I said earlier in the video, I sear my meats because I'm quite acidic. I don't like the taste of 100% raw. But searing isn't the end of the world, because the 90% that is raw is going to help break down the small 10% that is cooked. So we also want to be focusing on raw fats. Like I said earlier in the video, this is your energy source. You don't need sugars. You need to cut out all the sugars. You need to be running on raw fats. Essentially what some people call a ketogenic state. But a ketogenic state is what us humans are meant to be on naturally. And don't overdo it on fruit, on honey. I personally have started to cut these out because they're very addictive. And when you think about a diet decision, think to yourself, in the wild, in nature, what would we be naturally eating? And we wouldn't have fruits all year round. Just logically, we wouldn't. And if you saw some, you might have some occasionally, but not every single day and not in big amounts. And in supermarkets nowadays, about 99% are all GMO. They're all covered in herbicides and pesticides, which you can't wash off with water. So there's poisons, there's toxins on them which you're consuming, and you can't do anything about it. So it is best to avoid fruit. I would say avoid fruit in today's world. So yeah, we want to be basing our diet on raw fats, raw meat, and also some raw organs. My personal favorites are raw liver and raw heart. If you can get a good source, remember, if the animal is toxic, that's where the toxins are stored in the fat. So you need to make sure you're focusing on quality when you're buying the raw meats. The muscle meats are okay, but toxins are always stored in the fat. So if you're consuming an unhealthy animal, then it will be stored in the fat, which is something you want to avoid. Then we have the organs, which are going to provide us with the necessary nutrients. And yeah, all of them are jam-packed with vitamins, nutrients, you name it. Then we can also get more of the raw fats through raw yolks. These are great. I have about 8 to 10 raw egg yolks a day. Sometimes I'll fry the egg, or sometimes I have the egg yolk raw, and then on the side I will have the whites. And then also raw butter is a great source of raw fats too. And then raw milk has smaller amounts, but it's still great, and it's great for protein too. And all of the living enzymes, they're all great. Everything about this is all natural. If you were to look at this diet, if you're out in the world, you wouldn't have an issue with this. Let's say you're a caveman, right? And you've just, not even a caveman, let's say you've spawned in as a baby, yeah, in the middle of the world. Naturally, as humans, we would go for this diet over this. This doesn't even seem real. Like, it's poison. Genuinely, it's poison, but our taste buds are so cooked that we can't even realize this. When you adjust to a good diet, right? Let's say this is a cup of Sprite. Not Sprite. I've done this experiment before a while ago. Let's say this is a cup of Coca-Cola. Once you've adjusted to a healthy diet, eating real foods, and you try this tastes like pure chemicals. I'm not joking. I urge you to try it for yourself. After 2 weeks or so, have a tiny sip of a processed drink. It tastes like pure chemicals, because you're tasting what it actually is. Your taste buds are actually finally going back to their normal levels and what it should be like, and you're realizing what the food is you're eating. Because all they do with this food is just add countless sweeteners and sugars, and well, you name it, to make it more filling, to make it taste nicer, because none of it's good quality, so they have to add a ton of stuff to make it taste nice. Now, I believe I have covered everything in this video. It was a bit all over the place. I'm going to be honest. My train of thought went everywhere. I was talking about one thing and another thing. So if you have any questions, DM me on Instagram. It's in my bio. And also comment down below if you have any questions. Obviously, I didn't go into loads of details on everything, but again, I just want to show you how bloated my face was before. As you can see, super puffy, as well as my stomach, and my IBS symptoms were very bad at this point. Now, I will admit this was when I was, not when I was bulking. I don't believe I was doing anything here, but I was in the gym. It was probably when I was just starting cutting. And then this, I took the other day. Obviously, you can see my face is a lot leaner, and it still could be leaner as it's getting. As I'm detoxing currently, my lymph nodes are still slightly swollen. And I'll quickly explain that as well. The reason my lymph nodes are swollen is because my body is processing toxins. There's too many toxins for my body to process at one time, so it has to hold them in your lymph nodes, which is why they swell up. And your face can slightly go a bit puffier. Obviously, it's not too bad. But when you're I just want to warn you, when you're adjusting to the diet, this can happen initially. Or not even the diet. When you're adjusting to real foods, this can happen initially, but it's going to clear over time. And it's a good thing, because it means your body's actually working. It's working how it should do. And it's helping you get rid of the toxins. Anyway, guys, I hope that helps. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe. And follow my Instagram. Subscribe to my YouTube.